Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're talking about the best archetypes to farm in Master Duel. So we heard that there are going to be tournaments based solely on extra deck summoning mechanics, right? And so today I'm going to be listing in no particular order, even though I think the first one will obviously be the best. Um, we're going to be talking about the best fusion-based archetypes. Now, I do want to say this, and I'm going to say this before every video, because I'm going to do Xyz. I'm going to do Synchro as well, because we saw that there's going to be Synchro, like solely Synchro extra decks, solely Xyz-based extra decks, solely Fusion extra decks. But literally, you can't run another monster other than Fusion-based, or other than Xyz-based, other than Synchro-based, right? Um, there are some archetypes that don't really need an extra deck. Like, yeah, Eldritch can use its extra deck. Yeah, Eldritch Synchro has been a deck before. Eldritch Fusion's not that bad of an archetype because of the zombie support. But Eldritch in and of itself is fine without an extra deck. Monarchs in and of itself is fine without an extra deck. And so there might be some archetypes that could be considered to be in this list, but they're going to be good in every format, right? So we're just trying to maximize the ability to win every single format. So if you really want to win that Fusion tournament, make sure you click this like button and that subscribe button to support for the channel. And if you want to see the Xyz summoning and the Synchro summoning, make sure you guys subscribe so you can see that. I'm going to post that in a little bit, but let's just jump right into it. Starting with, of course, Shaddolls. Now, pure Shaddolls, in and of itself, is a fine archetype. But obviously, we're talking about Invoke Shaddol Dogmatica, because that's going to be the best version of Shaddolls. Now, Invoke Shaddol Dogmatica is going to be one of the harder ones to farm, because you got to get Dog from a certain secret pack, Invoke from a secret. I'm pretty sure they're all from different secret packs, right? That's where maybe working just with Invoke Shaddol, you're going to do fine. Maybe working with just Shaddolls, you're going to be fine. Maybe working with just Invoked. Invoked I didn't put up here because Invoked kind of can just be everywhere. But even like pure Invoked could be an archetype. But the reason why it's like Invoke Shaddol Dogmatica is because that's the best version of the deck. And like I said, these are technically in no particular order, but this one's probably going to be the best one, right? This is going to be the one in the Fusion tournament that you're going to have to watch out for, right? And the biggest thing too when it comes to this, I know you're probably like, oh, I hope Invoke Shaddol Dogmatica is not the best one. You know, I hope my I don't know, my Cyber's Fusion deck can do some things, right? I hope that can work out for me. That's just not the case, right? This list are archetypes that are already pretty good. They're like tier 2.5, high tier 3, right? It's just because there's no Xyz, there's no Synchro, there's no Links, doesn't necessarily mean that your bad fusion-based deck is going to be good. So that's why Invoke Shaddol Dogmatica, that's going to be one of the scarier archetypes when it comes to the fusion-based tournaments and the fusion-based events, right? So we all know about this deck. Let's talk about the other decks a little bit more, have a little bit more fun, because the next thing I want to talk about is Gem Knights. What I like about Gem Knight, excuse me, it's versatile. You have a card like Gem Knight Ruby. It's got the Armades effect. Seraphine gives you another summon. One of these guys, I forget the name, they return all spells and traps on the field when they're used as fusion material, right? Or it's not Ruby. This is the one that's the Armades, right? They have the card like Master Diamond. Prisma's really solid. Prismara, excuse me, is really solid. And it's a fun archetype to use. It's a fun fusion-based archetype. But what's the best about Gem Knights is that, and honestly, and better than maybe any other archetype we're going to talk about for the rest of this video, it's good at going first and good at going second. And in a situation where maybe the events and the tournaments will allow you to side, and it'll allow us, it won't be, like the events won't be one duel, maybe it'll be a little bit better, but having a deck that can be forced to go first and do fine, and create a crazy first turn board that's a little bit hard to break, also be forced to go second and do fine, and break boards and do crazy things there. Gem Knights is really solid, but what's great about Gem Knights on top of all of it is that it really doesn't run anything. Like I genuinely don't know. I mean, I guess we could look into this right now. I genuinely don't think Gem Knights are running. We're getting a lot of Duel Links decks. I don't think Gem Knights are running a lot of non-fusion monsters. So the transition to only fusion is super easy for Gem Knights, right? The next thing I want to talk about is close to not being allowed on this list, but it's Cyber Dragon. Now, we were talking about Cyber Dragon with no Infinity. We're talking about Cyber Dragon with no Seeger, or Steiger, however you say it, right? Two of the better cards in this archetype. Even Cyber Dragon Nova is actually a really good card. And that's a card you're not going to see. But don't sleep on the Cyber Dragon fusion monsters, right? A long time ago, right, in a galaxy far, far away, right? No, um, this was only fusion monsters. This archetype was only just gigantic board wiping fusion monsters. And if you build Cyber Dragon to go second, especially with the support that it has, it it can be kind of scary with only fusion monsters. Right? The ability that Cyber Dragon has to go first, make the Anaconda, make the Dragoon, make the Infinity, make an Overload, set an Overload, like those are nice, but it's not needed. This deck is still really good if you maximize on hand traps, to the right extent. You are still in a situation where pure fusion Cyber Dragon is really good. Right now, Cyber Dark Cyber Fusion is an interesting one, because you could run that new Cyber Dark card. I don't even know if that's in Master Duel. So you guys can correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below. If this card here is in Master Duel, but if it is, like, that's not a horrible archetype either. But I just, Chimera Tech Fortress is good. Mega Fleet is good at outing board. Both these cards great at outing boards. Rampage Dragon great at outing boards. Cyber End Dragon not the best at outing boards. Inflicts piercing damage, 4,000 attack, right? And in a situation where it's got a quick play fusion spell. I mean, in a situation where every deck has to be purely fusion, there are going to be some decks that are just going to be better, and pure fusion Cyber Dragon is going to be one of them. The next thing I want to talk about, this might be more of my heart, not my mind saying this, but it's Pfeiffer. Um, Pfeiffer has always been one of those fusion archetypes. If you don't know what it does, it beats you really fast. You have a card like Frightful Wolf that can attack a bunch of times. Frightful Tiger that can out a bunch of cards. Frightful Kraken that can do a lot of great things. And then, of course, a card like Frightful Patchwork, which is a +1. Uh, there's so many busted things about this archetype. Toy Vendor's a great card. Fluffle Dog is a great card. Fight for Fusion is a great card. Even Fight for Factory, Fight for Sheep, great cards, right? And some of the newer cards, I know I haven't name dropped any of the super new cards just quite yet. Like the Whale, as we're heading to eBay here, 99 cents. But this archetype, was one of the first ones I thought of when I thought of what fusion-based archetypes might benefit by some decks just being taken out, right? Like Frightful Fluffles are probably tier 3, but it's definitely possible that in a pure fusion-based event or tournament, this could be a tier 2, tier 1.5 archetype. So, and it's a fun archetype too. I've messed around with Fluffles a lot. If you check out this channel, there's probably at least 2 Fluffle deck profiles from a long time ago, but 2 Fluffle deck profiles that showcase that I do enjoy playing the archetype. And I think that it is a very fun archetype. What's cool about it too, Gem Knights are similar with this in the sense that it is you can do a lot of different routes with it now. Because there's so much Fluffle support, there's a lot of different routes that you can take that'll allow you to have more flexibility. Your Fluffle deck isn't going to be everybody else's Fluffle deck, right? And that's just something to keep in mind going forward for a tournament like this. The next deck I do want to talk about is going to be Luna Lights. I personally think this is going to be, if not the second best, the third best, or the overall best archetype. What's great about Luna Lights is that there's there's so many cards that do so many things. There's cards that have effects if they're fusion summoned. There's cards that have effects if they're used as fusion materials, if they're normal summoned, if they're special summoned. There's a card like Luna Light Wolf, right? There's so many different things. You can go first with this deck. Obviously, you prefer to go second with this deck. That's the interesting thing I was noticing when I was putting this list together. I feel like the fusion-based tournament is going to be a very go-second format. I think Cyber Dragon's going to be pretty solid. I think Gem Knight's going to be pretty solid. I think Luna Light's going to be pretty solid. I think all these decks will be pretty solid. Every deck I've said so far is really good at going second. Um, and I think that Luna Lights is no different. So it might end up being going second is better in the fusion based tournament. And Luna Lights is great at going first. Luna Lights is great at going first, stalling out and being like, okay, let's get to turn 3 so I can actually OTK you. So I think Luna Lights is a very scary archetype, and it's another fun one. It's another really, really fun one. That's what I like about these tournaments. It's going to give players the opportunity to play fun decks that they maybe wouldn't either way. This one's obvious. There's just so much hero support that some version of hero, whether it's evil heroes, whether it's destiny heroes, whether it's elemental heroes, what have you, is going to be good. I know that their link monsters are really solid. I know that they kind of do need, because they have a lot of level 4s. They do benefit from having a rank 4 toolbox. But overall, there's so much elemental hero support and hero support in general. There's, no way it's not insanely busted in a pure fusion based tournament. Should go without saying. The last deck we're going to talk about is Ritual Beast. Ritual Beast is one of the more I misspoke. It's not one of the more complicated decks. It's the most complicated deck I've said. Right? It's not the easiest one to pick up and just like, okay, they said Ritual Beast will be good for this tournament. Let me see what I can do. It's not that. It's definitely a learning curve with Ritual Beast. But with cards like Alti Hawk and the interactions that it could potentially have, cards like Spiritual Beast, Tamer Winda, Elder as well, even Wen, all of them. Hawk is great. The Zeref cards are good. The Link Monster is good too, but you obviously can't run that, right? This deck is really good, and what's great about Ritual Beast is this deck, if you're not trying, because okay, I've always been somebody who's great at playing going second decks, and I actually struggle a little bit going first sometimes because I do usually play going second decks. A lot of people are the opposite. A lot of people, they don't really know how to go second super well, and a deck like Ritual Beast is like 3 Ash and a bunch of traps, or no Ash at all, right? Only imperms, your only hand trap. Like this deck, and that could be the interesting thing, is where this deck could be the only deck that's pretty good that's consistently going first. That's fusion based, obviously, right? Because you got a card like Ritual Beast Steeds and Ritual Beast Ambushes, which are obviously 2 trap cards, but they're powerful trap cards, right? Even, a card like Ritual Beast Return is a solid card. Alti Hawk, Alti Apelio is pretty good going second. Alti Pelifin is pretty solid. There's a lot of different cards that are really, really cool with this deck, but the best thing about this archetype is it is genuinely a lot of fun to play because it does have that learning curve. You have to like the learning curve, but it is genuinely a lot of fun to play. But let me know what you guys think. What fusion-based archetypes came to your mind when you heard only fusion-based tournament? Let me know in those comments down below. Make sure you click that like button and that subscribe button. Like I said, I'm going to be doing Xyz and Synchro later in the week. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button to see that. But most importantly of all, have a good day.